That was a good throwback, wasn't it, Mark? How's it going?
I won't lie, I was kind of jamming out a little bit while I was moving my gear around in Diablo.
Was your hip shaking a little bit, or was it stationary?
Oh, I'm sitting in the chair, so my hip was stationary, but I was swaying back and forth and bopping my head for sure.
Let's go. I don't even know if this tune was like famous because I grew up in Europe. I don't know if it like reached the US or other places. It probably did. Yeah, cool. Mark's on the account with Uncaged. I know that because it's the second time we have a pleasure this week to be on the spaces together. But welcome everyone. Thursday is a day I like to talk mother chain, all things orange today. There's a lot happening in the broader ecosystem. When I say Bitcoin, let's talk Bitcoin, I mean everything about the Bitcoin economy. And the cool thing about Bitcoin is it unites everyone. So wherever you're from, whichever corner of Web3, I feel like we have a lot to talk about. Cool. So let's get introduced to each other. Mark, if you want to take the mic and hit them with an intro of who the heck you are and what you're doing, and then we'll pass it around.
Yeah, for sure. So, Mark D Games, it's under the Uncaged account, but basically Uncaged is like a turn-based game where you're playing as some apes on a soccer field, and you have power-ups that you can use to help you get the ball across the field. It's a lot of fun. It's very strategy based, and the more I play it, the more sucked in I get, and the more it becomes something that I forget what time it is by the time I'm done playing.
Awesome. I saw a skit today on the timeline somewhere, a video of your guys' build, and I think it's really awesome. And guys, distribution is everything in this space, and Uncaged is partnered with, for instance, Bodago's Entertainment and with some other heavy hitters. So you guys are doing something right. And I can't wait to see more people talk about what it is that you're doing.
Absolutely, my brother. I love just vibing with you and just hanging. This is going to be a great space.
Let's go. Yeah, dude, that's the theme of my Thursday space. It's always water cooler style and just learning, see what we can learn from each other. I think it's much more about the unity than the quantity. So that's what we're aiming for today. Let's go to the second guest. We got, let's talk with Leather. Who's behind the Leather account?
Hey, yeah, this is Brandon. I'm a social media manager for Trust Machines, and Leather is our flagship product, our Bitcoin wallet. So yeah, really excited to be here, and yeah, let's have a chill space.
Really sick. I actually just downloaded it today and was checking it out, how it looks. And yeah, I must say it is a clean interface. So I can't wait to chat it up and see what you guys are cooking.
Yeah, lots of stuff cooking. I can definitely say that. But yeah, glad to, hear that you downloaded it and liked it. Definitely a clean UI is something that we're very focused on. So really cool to see that you appreciate that.
Fantastic. Yeah, man. Let's pass it to Rami. And I see we also got Robbie connecting. Hey, Robbie, thanks for joining up on the panel. Rami is from XP.NETWORK. They're all about interoperability, I feel. It's all about bridging NFTs across different chains. And so, of course, I'm curious about your opinion around Ethereum NFTs, Bitcoin NFTs, etc. But why don't you take it away and tell people who you are and what you guys are doing in your own words, because you can do that much better than me.
GM everyone, my name is Rami. I'm the client integration of XP.NETWORK. XP.NETWORK is an NFT bridge. We currently support 30 blockchains, EVM and non-EVM. And of course, we seeking to add Bitcoin since they support NFTs now. And thank you for having us.
Lovely. Happy to have you. Leather, is it a cardinal sin to call things on Bitcoin NFTs?
I think it just depends on where you're coming from, right? I feel like if you've been in the space for a while, it's kind of like calling Twitter X, right? Nobody calls it X. It's just Twitter. But yeah, I think it just kind of depends on where you came from, how long you've been in the space. If you call it an NFT, I'm not going to get mad at you.
Yeah, neither am I. And if people get mad at you, at least you get some engagement out of it, which is also cool. Robbie, Uncaged we have here, we already introduced. Robbie's from Umoja Labs. That's right, another guest we have prepped for this space. Why don't you take it away, Robbie?
So Robbie, founder of Umoja. We're an asset management protocol that mints smart coins, or otherwise self-trading cryptocurrencies. So imagine a normal cryptocurrency, but it also owns its own DeFi trading strategy so that all you have to hodl is the crypto, and you don't have to deal with vaults or anything like that. In the context of Bitcoin, deploying on a few L2s, Merlin, and BitLayer in particular, and also our first structured asset, our smart coin, is going to be BTC, which is yield-bearing Bitcoin that protects your principal in Bitcoin and also obviously earns you yield in Bitcoin as well. So great to connect with everybody.
Great to connect. What an intro. What an innovation. I love to hear it. We just had Merlin on last week, I think, on the show. And I think what you're doing is super important for all the hundreds of millions of people that want to do things like set and forget, right? Hodl and forget. Because, of course, on the timeline, the traders are very, very loud. But, you know, when I look at the generation that birthed me, for example, they like set and forget much better, right? And passive investing is not so common in this space, but I'm happy to see some solutions emerging. So that's really cool, and can't wait to get a little bit deeper into it. So thanks for coming, Robbie. Now, first things first, house rules. I mean, we're a small group, but we can do a bit of house rules. I already said this is a water cooler space, so please bring your beverages, bring your chill vibes, and make sure that you come prepared, right? We want to listen intently and ask good questions and learn together, and not just maybe trade on the side or do whatever else. Then we have a rule, which is the hot potato rule. I like to hot potato people sometimes that are on the stage. So, we don't have to go with hands. We can just jam and gather around certain questions the way we see fit. And if you need to leave, if you need to bounce, it's an airport. So just go ahead and leave. I won't take it, personal. And, I can't wait to chat it up with you guys. All right. Leather, I wanted to talk to you guys first because I used your product today, and I want to hear a little bit about, just how you view the community aspect around building a wallet product, because one thing that unites everyone here is we're community builders on stage. But I feel like with a wallet product, the social aspect is really something that can make you stand out from other wallet competitors. And so I was wondering how you view it and what your take is on that.
Yeah, that's actually a really timely question. We're currently actually hiring a community lead that's going to come on to help me a little bit more with community specifically. But our wallet, we've been around for several years. We actually originally started as a Stacks wallet, and then when Ordinals kicked off last year, we transitioned into also being a Bitcoin and an Ordinals wallet. So, for me, community is extremely important. It's something that I've been involved with, in the community for years. It's something that I take really, close to heart, basically. And in the types of content that we create on social, I do a lot of writing both for Leather and for Trust Machines, our parent company. Trust Machines is sort of a Bitcoin company. We're creating apps on Bitcoin. And, with that, we're fairly sort of layer agnostic. We're really open to learning about, Bitcoin layers, all the different innovations that are happening on Bitcoin. And there's so much stuff that's out there to write about. So we really tried to do sort of some in-depth kind of research type Twitter threads on what are all these cool things that are happening on Bitcoin. And that really helps us to sort of tap into all these different communities that are out there. And that's worked really well for us in the past, sort of year and a half that I've been part of the team. So community is huge, and we're definitely going to continue leaning into it, especially with this new community role that we have that we're hiring for.
Gotcha. So that's already cool news for everyone in the audience. You're hiring for a community role, and I see some ninjas in the audience. Captain, what's up? Nice to have you here as well. Always happy to see a fellow ninja. Really cool. So education is really important in community building, right? You mentioned, which subset of the Bitcoin ecosystem has lately excited you guys most?
Yeah, I would say, obviously Runes was, huge when it launched. There was tons of hype around it. And I think we've sort of seen a little dip, lately kind of in Runes activity. Just seems like there's a lull overall in the market, but I'm pretty confident that, things are going to come back. Kind of reminds me a lot of that, lull in Ordinals about a year ago, when everyone was calling Ordinals dead, and then it just came roaring back to life. So, I think there's still a lot of legs left with runes.
For sure. I mean, the parallels are really uncanny of how last year's ordinals are dead is nowadays a meme. And, I mean, people are proclaiming runes are dead. And I feel like a lot of this space is just pattern recognition. And this pattern seems to just be repeating itself, right? If you have someone like Leonidas, obviously talking to every exchange out there about to, have the first runes properly listed, we're not going anywhere. Is my take on that. But Mark, I wrote that same question to you. Obviously, you've been in the space for a good bit, and does Bitcoin as a trend and like ordinals and runes, does that go completely past you, or is that something where in your free time after gaming work, you dive into?
So it's funny you asked this actually. Up until about a week ago, if you asked me about Bitcoin and like trading and all this stuff, I would tell you I don't really care because I'm a gamer. But as of about a week ago, I made the decision that I'm going to start researching coins and trading and everything involved. And I've got a goal by the end of this month. I want to take $100 and see what I can do with it and try to learn the trading aspect of Web3. Like I said, I'm big into the Web3 gaming part of it. And in my mind and like in my heart, Web3 gaming shouldn't be catered around trading. Let that stay with crypto and like the meme coins and the people who want to do that. Web3 gaming, if it's going to be games, needs to focus on gamers, not traders. But that being said, there is some cool shit that can be done with coins in crypto and meme coins and like some IP collaborations. There's like a lot of things that can be done, which is why I made the decision that about a week ago to say, I got to learn the space. I got to learn more about why different communities get so pumped up about coins and trading and meme coins and, Iggy this and Iggy that and like just all this craziness that's behind it.
It's a good point. Like I have a lot of friends that are not yet into cryptocurrency, but that are very crypto curious. And then this one guy, he always talks to me and says, "Hey, I've been researching this, researching that." And I told him, "Hey, have you aped? Like, did you invest in any coin?" He was like, "Not yet. I'm not sure yet." And I'm like, I mean, that's the research part. Like you ape and then you get the whole visceral experience of, potentially losing it all or potentially going up many multiples. So I think the best kind of experience is definitely immersive like this. So that's really cool. Just don't use leverage, Mark. I think last week we had a protocol here, BitPerp. They do up to 100x leverage on Bitcoin on BRC20s and runes. Maybe to start off.
The real question would be, if you were to guide me in a direction, obviously not financial advice, if you were to guide me in a direction to that you would, let's say you wanted to guide one of your friends who was just diving into it, which direction would you point them to start getting into trading?
Really good question. So I think
you can pass that around to the room too, like ask.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're in the audience, you have some thoughts on this, comment it out. We'll pin it up top, or if you want to request to speak, feel free. I think this is a great question actually to involve everyone. Honestly, for me personally, I would do a Telegram bot and I would do Solana and play around with it. I do Bunkbot. That's how I really, really learned a lot about meme coin investing. And,
you would focus more on the meme coins than the stable coins?
No, I mean, trading is a lot about what gets you excited, right? What you can spend time with and what motivates you to learn more about trading. For instance, I currently, or haven't yet, gotten excited about DeFi, about, putting something in a farm and having dozens of percentage points of API or hundreds of percentage points of APY. That's something that is foreign to me and it doesn't excite me. But meme coins I can understand because I come from the NFT era in Web3. And now the pictures are just fungible and the culture is just more easily spreadable and viral. So I understand that. And so I feel more comfortable trading that. And that's, I think, ultimately what you have to do in trading. It's just, where's your natural interest? Where can you really learn fast? But I want to hear what Robbie has to say and what Leather has to say.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Bad connection. And I agree. I actually, there's been a few conversations that I've been a part of that, really question how can, aspects of the blockchain space like DeFi take on, the community and the interest and, the widespread adoption and attention that I think meme coins have catalyzed, in this, most recent kind of, macro theme of crypto. And I mean, I agree. I mean, I think one is certainly the simplicity. I do think obviously like the quick gains, particularly coming off of like a long crypto recession, certainly has a lot to do with it as well. And I mean, to your point, like the vast majority of people who hold crypto, right, don't use dApps at all, and I think obviously like the extension wallet interface has part to do with that because it requires a base level of technical literacy to adopt much of this, and I think dApps can try to do a better job at that. But of course, obviously, there being so many networks, I think this is also like a bridging issue as well, where it's like that shouldn't be like an interface that anyone ever has to see. It should just be auto routing via whatever wallet that you're using, so that it's all on the back end. But until that point, and then this is kind of why we just decided to kind of embed the vaults within the crypto itself. Like you really have to kind of create a community around what's fungible and what provides people some type of incentive. The last thing that I would say, and this is where I think maybe the potential secret sauce is, or at least my hypothesis around all this is that my belief is that the only way that dApps, DeFi in general, can try to take a part of that magic, or not take, but just emulate part of that magic that meme coins and NFTs of the 2020s, brought, is to like create utility that provides value outside of price action, right? So right now, obviously, any utility token, like most people are only going to hold it right before or right after DGE, and they're going to sell it, right? It's all focused on price, no matter how cool the DApp is, right? I think that there is a possibility of getting away from that if these tokens hold utility that provide enough value outside of just increasing in price. For us, we have a working lottery where just holding the token makes you eligible for lottery rewards, and then you have to take some amount of work to actually redeem them, so that it's not at least officially gambling. And that way, even if our token is worth nothing, which it doesn't even exist right now, you at least have some upside. But I'm sure that there are many other better implementations of utility that divorces price from feeling included and things being simple. So.
I love that take. It's really cool because that will draw you further into the space rather than just price action, which can get you burned. If you've ever gotten burned on price action, it's almost like you're betting on your favorite football player and then you lose a lot of money, and then you'll never view that football player the same way. But if it's utility beyond price action, and which was what happened with the NFT era with me. By the way, are you guys hearing me? I had like a low connection signal for a second. Okay, awesome. So,
yeah, you're good. You dipped out for like a split second, but you're back.
Okay, sweet. And what the NFT community did, and what I think meme coins can do too, is really this like beyond price action. Now, for instance, I'm starting a project with the Pizza Ninjas that we're going to launch soon, which is related to education, about to educate all our 1,000 holders into a topic that I'm very passionate about. And when I started with NFTs, I became a community manager for a marketplace just because I was in an early NFT community on a certain chain. And that's kind of cemented me and kind of made me a multi-cycle player rather than just a one-cycle player. And I think we need that to keep people here.
Yeah, I'll just say, I don't really consider myself.
I was Debbie Downing it with that take, it seems.
Yeah.
No, I think it's awesome, Robbie, what you're building. And I want to understand a little bit, like if we can Eli 5 it a little bit, yield bearing Bitcoin. How would you explain to people in the room here? So what happens if I hold the Why BTC was the abbreviation you said?
So yeah, I mean, the metaphor that I like to use when it comes to smart coins and why BTC is just like a Tesla autonomously drives you to wherever you want. Smart coins do that with regards to any particular trading strategy that you would want to implement, but otherwise can't because they're not all pro traders and DeFi degens. And so why BTC in particular, and this is any why smart coin, because effectively we can do this with Sol, we can do this with ETH, effectively any high market cap crypto, is it takes BTC as collateral, and then it effectively facilitates a perpetual DEX arbitrage strategy, a funding fee arbitrage strategy to create profits from that, and then converts those profits back into BTC, and then effectively you can redeem that accrued APY at any time. But most importantly, and this is something that even Athena doesn't do, is that it protects your principal in BTC. So I mean, one thing that we found is as you all probably know, most people in the BTC space, they account for principal in BTC, not in USD, right? BTC is more important to them. And so, but there's not any products that protect your principal in BTC, are very, very few. And the ones that do create yield usually create yield in some other token or an L2 rather than in Bitcoin itself. And so that's effectively how it works. And it's one of many structured assets that we're looking to put out. I would say the last thing that is also pretty cool about it is that it evolves. So effectively the way it works is that it's an ERC20 contract that owns collateral in Bitcoin or wrap Bitcoin or the equivalent on an L2 on BitVM. And then, that strategy that it's using is it's tokenized as an NFT. So it's a contract that owns one part principal, one part strategy. And that strategy can be updated over time. And so, like if we connect to additional DEXs, or if we, update the strategy, to generate more yields, however which way, existing holders benefit from that. So you're talking about like an upgradable self-trading, cryptocurrency, rather than something that kind of deprecates over time, which we've seen a lot happen, especially in DeFi, right? The hottest thing comes out and it's creating like crazy APY, and then it kind of dies down after a while, and then people go to the next thing, and it does the same thing. So that's a quick explainer, but of course, always down to go into tech dives, offline for those who are interested, or here if questions are asked. Yeah.
That's really insightful, man. An upgradable self-trading cryptocurrency. That's a lot to wrap my head around, to be honest. And it's really cool that you can explain it in simple terms. And the yield you said comes from the arbitrage in the perpetuals.
Yeah, so it, effectively we look at different exchanges, we look across exchanges, and we look at the funding fees that they're paying out to short positions, long positions. It depends on the market right now, obviously short positions. And what's happened is that there's two things. One, the funding fees that you get paid for taking like the position that no one's taking on perpetual DEXs is much different than the one on centralized exchanges. So there's a huge arbitrage opportunity there. But of course, to do this, like, DeFi degens and pro traders do this manually all the time, but it's a lot of steps. And then the second thing is that there are obviously, differences between, DEXs, between each other, right? Between DEXs and between DEXs. And so, it's effectively exploiting, those differences, so that you can make very quick profits. And so it's effectively hyper trading the difference, between all these exchanges. The second thing, which is really interesting, is that actually Athena, kind of messed up the whole funding fee market. So what happened was, Athena got really popular. $2 billion plus went into that, and effectively it's sucking up all the funding fees from all the exchanges that it supports. And so now there's even bigger difference between centralized exchanges that are supported by Athena and ones that are not. And then of course Athena doesn't support any DEXs yet, so it's even greater on the DEX side. And so there's just a lot of massive arbitrage opportunities between what exchanges are paying you to make sure that their markets are, equalized. So it's just allowing everybody to access that without having to do any work, and just being able to redeem.
And Robbie, because this kind of work, what you're doing, it requires like deep technical blockchain expertise across all chains, right? So what brought you to this spot that you're doing this work today?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty wild. So I've been in crypto since 2011. I started with a Bitcoin, a very small Bitcoin hedge fund. I wouldn't really call it even a hedge fund, trading firm, probably more appropriate, because that's really all that existed. Bitcoin, Namecoin, Litecoin, right? And then I'm also an engineer, so I was just working on a lot of blockchain projects until things actually became like full-time worthy in 2017, and then I was the head of social impact at Consensus. So I actually started a lot of my building in capital markets and social impact, so like use cases like humanitarian aid, remittances, and it was working with a lot of these NGOs like Oxfam, Red Cross, Mercy Corps, that I found that a lot of international humanitarian aid organizations, because they hold so many currencies, they have a lot of issues with like FX hedging, right? You hold one currency and it's devaluating at one rate, and then you have USD is devaluating at another rate. And the way that this all ties in is that we kind of realize that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of retail investors, and there's a lot of institutions that have to do certain financial strategies that they're just not equipped to do at all. And, the alternative is working with a bank, and that obviously sucks. It takes a long time. And so what we first started doing was, outside of the humanitarian aid products that we created, we started the protocol just focused on hedging. Just like saying, hey guys, just hedge losses, like hedge losses in crypto, hedge losses in fiat. We have a few AI quants from Barclays and Credit Suisse and RPS on our team as well. And I also worked at Goldman Sachs in a prior life. And then we realized that, this like automating financial strategies works for institutions because they have the literacy. But for retail, if you wanted to do the same thing, like they don't like vaults. Like, a lot of them just don't use vaults. And so you have to make it even simpler, right? And we realized that, the only way, even if you were just using hedging as a strategy, like no yield at all, just protecting your downside, you would have to tokenize that in some way so that people could just hold that asset and not have to do any more thinking beyond that. And that's how we kind of got here. And then we realized, hedging is one base strategy, arbitrage is another, going long is another. And so now we're kind of tokenizing these different fundamental strategies and making them more accessible by embedding them within these tokens. But yes, it is quite technical, and we have a few. I'm more on the tokenomics side, and engineering side. I have others that are more on the financial engineering side, and you just have to test the hell out of it, right? Because there's a lot of tail end use cases like black swan events, for example, that can make things very, very difficult. And because it's money, people's money that you're talking about, you really have a high bar, and of course, auditing the hell out of everything, of course, as well.
Dude, I did not have this origin story on my bingo card that it comes from humanitarian aid.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
As far as you could possibly come from. Like, it's funny too, because when I was like on the humanitarian aid side, I literally told myself after my experience at Goldman Sachs, which was like masochist, like people were sleeping in bathrooms, like everybody was fucking tired. Like I told myself I'd never do this. I'd never go on the financial engineering side, and I fucking ended up here. So yeah.
That's what's up, man. You can only connect the dots backwards, man. And really noble that you're doing this, and really, really fucking cool. I would actually love to have a great debate with someone that I know. A few people in my network actually are building more vault-based passive investment systems. And you guys debating it out would be really fun. So maybe we can do that sometime in the future. But yeah, really cool. I see Lucifer in the audience. I want to give a quick shout out, homie, from back in Solana summer 2 years ago. It's so cool to like do spaces and see PFPs again from back in the day. Brandon, I wanted to ask you something with Leather. What is tough about your guys' concept to build? Because we used to have this conception in the space that Ethereum was going to be the computer. But now it seems like on Bitcoin, you can do a lot of cool shit. Like My Ninja, for instance, is an application. Like it's an app. I can animate My Ninja with the code that's in the app in there. So, what's challenging to build what it is that you're building, Leather?
I just got to say this for a second because it just made me laugh. Did you really just ask Leather what's tough?
Oh my God. What's tough leather? Yeah, I did not think of it this way, but that's hilarious. But yeah, Brandon, go ahead, over to you, because obviously Robbie told his story, and Robbie has to go really broad with technical knowledge, right? I think you guys have to go really deep, which is also something that interests me, like bleeding edge Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest challenge is what do we prioritize in the space? And there's so much growth and so much activity that's happening. Like a year and a half ago, it was like nobody's building on Bitcoin, and now there's like so much to keep. There's like too much to keep track of. Essentially, there's so much new innovation and so many new things happening. So for us, the biggest thing is like, what do we actually prioritize? Like, even runes, for example, right? Some of our team was actually kind of going back and forth on like how much do we want to really lean into runes. Obviously, it was a good decision that we launched support for runes, but reflecting back on there's been some like meta protocols that have already kind of come and gone that were on ordinals, right? And we're looking back, hindsight, we're glad that we didn't support them necessarily, because we essentially would have almost wasted some engineering resources on those things. So that's definitely the struggle. Is we want to be kind of the one wallet for everything, but we only have so many engineers and so many developers that can build all these different features. So it's really figuring out what it is to prioritize. And especially lately, I feel like we have started to become slightly more conservative in what we support, just so that we can be much more intentional in how we support it. So we're not releasing sort of half-baked features and features that, maybe for this audience, I feel like we're all maybe a little bit more on the degen, spectrum, and we might be a little bit more forgiving of certain things, certain experiences with how, UI works and just the overall UX works on wallets. But we're trying to onboard new people into this space. And, I would never expect, just thinking of like my parents, right? Like I could maybe have my parents download Leather, but I'll just, no hate to Unisat because they make a great tool, right? But that's a much more complicated product compared to Leather.
I think
so. Yeah, it's just
what
figuring
stands
that out.
out. If I had to say what stands out to me is branding wise, I think you guys are really clean, and that's obviously really powerful, especially when you're building a product, you want to put brand first. That's effectively gonna, if you have the strongest brand, you're not gonna have to do sales, right? And user acquisition just comes.
Yeah, and we actually, Leather is sort of a recent rebrand. We just did that back in August. So, we've been Leather since August. Prior to that, we were a part of Hero, and they're a company that's building on stacks and ordinals. But we spent a lot of time being very intentional on our rebrand to Leather, calling ourselves Leather, which, is a very tangible thing, right? When you think of leather, you think of premium quality material. All of those decisions, it's very tough. Yeah, all those decisions. Yeah, we're super intentional to crafting a good brand, and we built from that, obviously, with all of our different elements that we use.
Got it, man. So what's upcoming, guys? I'm like really curious to hear what you guys got cooking.
Yeah, every time I join one of these spaces, we always just get asked the obvious question, which is when mobile. When mobile. It is coming. The team is working on it. I can't say exactly when it's going to be coming out, but it will be this year sometime. And I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm sure many people are. I'm really looking forward to having Leather in my pocket, and it's going to be great. So. Really, really excited for that. And, it can't come fast enough.
Is there any sort of, so you said you've over 100,000 people have downloaded the wallet, right? I actually tried on desktop first, and that was a charm. Is there any sort of, geography where you get most users from, or any sort of, channel where you get most users from currently?
It's pretty broad. I would say, just it actually kind of mirrors a lot of our team. We're a very global team at Trust Machines. Like I live in California. A lot of our marketing team lives in the East Coast, some in like Florida, some in New York. And then a lot of the leather team actually lives in Europe, like Spain and a few other locations in Europe. So we're a pretty distributed team, and we also have a pretty distributed user base as well.
We global. Let's roll. Cool. Uncased, you got your hand up, Mark.
Sorry, for some reason it didn't click the unmute button. So I'm not the type of person who's going to shy away from asking a question, whether it's a dumb question or not, because I was always told the only dumb question is the one that doesn't get asked. So I'm going to ask a question from somebody who's not a trader, obviously, but in crypto, like with the leather wallet and everything. Your main focus, I would assume, is more on the traders, not so much on the gamers. So my focus is very much so on the gamers. I don't even know what you would call yourself. Crypto traders, we'll call it, right? What are they doing to try and onboard more traders into crypto? Because obviously the more people that are involved in it, the more money you can make in it. So, but I don't ever see like anybody trying to onboard people into crypto to trade, as opposed to like every day I see people struggling and trying and doing everything they can and spending stupid amounts of marketing money to try and onboard Web3 games. What do the traders do to try and get people educated and onboarded into, trading with Bitcoin or whatever, or, like Uncaged Coin, MBS?
You were dropping out in between sometime, but I still managed to understand your question. I'm just going to quickly repeat it. You're going to say, you did say gamers, it's very obvious how they're trying to acquire users with play to airdrop, etc. What are the projects in the trading ecosystem, like exchanges, like wallets, what are they doing to acquire traders? That's what you asked, right? So maybe we'll route that to Brandon.
Yeah, I just realized I walked away from my Wi-Fi because I went outside because the sun is down and it's beautiful out.
That's
cool.
I think got you.
It's a great question. Onboarding obviously is super important, and bringing more people into the space is super important. But I think it goes back to what I was talking about with just trying to be slightly more conservative. I would not consider myself at all a trader. I'm probably more of a collector than anything. Like I just buy stuff and I just hold it. And I have just like a ton of stuff in my wallet, and I'm happy that it's there, and I'm happy to kind of support the artists and the teams that are behind it. But I think going back to what Robbie was talking about with utility, right? I think utility is a little bit of a meme that gets thrown around, and in some ways, like it's lost a little bit of its meaning in this space, I feel like. But bringing actual useful utility is, it's more long-term value, right? It's not like a flash in the pan, number go up type of thing. That's what we're really focused on, is just bringing more lasting value into the space, and more organic growth. Because, if you pump something, it might immediately bring in a ton of new people, but then they'll leave as soon as, the number goes down, right? So it's more about being just really thoughtful in the type of products that you're building, to make them sticky, right? And make people continue to use them, wherever kind of the market activity is at that, given time.
So if I may add to that, Mark, so your question in general about how traders get incentivized to do things. Traders are different animals. They're essentially also playing a game, right? But the way that I see exchanges and others, the way that I see them incentivize traders is, for instance, with campaigns with KOLs, right? Like anyone using that ref link gets a certain percentage fee waived of their trades. And what's really common as well, what I've seen, is trading competitions, Mark. So very much in the same way that you could organize a game duel or something, you can have a trading competition, who outtrades who, right? Or 10 to 100 SOL, and then typically you'd have that sponsored in some fashion by some of the parties. And so Yeah, I don't know if that's so applicable for a wallet type product, but I do certainly see it with exchanges.
That's actually pretty crazy. I didn't even know that was like something that was a thing.
Mechanism that I really liked was, I'm sure you all remember the curve wars a few years ago, or a year ago, I'm losing track of time. But I thought that was really, really cool.
Curve wars?
Yeah. So for some background, Curve Finance is a protocol. It's a stablecoin, AMM, stablecoin DEX. Basically it's tokenomics, so that if you stake a certain amount of curve, you get to determine which pools earn more curve rewards, or earn a certain amount of yield in the native token. And so basically you had not just retail investors, but you had full-on protocols that were like competing against each other to stake as much curve as possible to get the rewards to go to their pools, to go to their liquidity pools, like in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And so it ended up being very, very, very successful. And it actually lasted quite a while. I think probably about 18, 16 months where this type of competition was going on between those protocols, because obviously those were kind of like add-on, rewards to their ecosystem. And so, I mean, I know that like any mechanism that, to your point, that can obviously give people yield is great. And that is something that can be separate from, the actual price of any particular token if it's sustainable. But in particular, pooling a great deal of yield and doling that out based off of an action like staking, which is obviously, a more long-term commitment, has proven to work, really, really well. And I plan to do this later today, and I, recommend that everyone do it as well. Like in the context of referral campaigns or, trading campaigns, etc. Like literally just have a conversation with ChatGPT for like an hour and just go through as many different versions. Because I swear to you, I have had like tokenomic conversations with ChatGPT, and sometimes it gives you fire. I'm gonna be real. Sometimes it gives you straight fire, and you're like, yo, like this is a great collaboration. I'm not going to pay you any more than the $20 that I'm already paying per month, but thank you for this contribution. So, and I know, because it's hard. Like coming up with the ideas is hard, and I feel like it's oftentimes the one thing that I have learned not to do. I'll get off the grandstand after this. The one thing that I have learned not to do is to avoid copying. I have noticed that because the macro theme of these mini themes in crypto change so often.
Hold up, Robbie. You just spoke in a double negative. You said you lost me at the double negative. The one thing, can you rephrase it?
Yeah. The one thing not to do. The one thing not to do, is copying. Like one thing that I've noticed is that obviously battling for attention in crypto is tough. It's a blood sport, right? And obviously I think to your earlier point, like having a concise brand, that's definitely 80% of the battle. Like people just understanding what value you provide and what you are is definitely one thing. But I've noticed that trying to copy other type of campaign or content styles in the context of attracting that attention can really, damage you, because you can invest in that particular thing and then that thing's popularity change instantaneously. And by the time you implement it, it's no longer popular. So
true.
Try new shit,
Very true. And you also don't have you're not the one who earned the right to mainstream that innovation because you didn't think of it. And that's why you're probably going to be unlikely to be successful with it, especially in a space that innovates so fast. But yeah, very, very good point. Leather, I was actually just thinking about how I used Liquidium the other day. Shout out to JJ and the team from Liquidium. Super fun Bitcoin dApp. I recommend everyone checks it out. But basically, if I used I think it was either Xverse or Unisat wallet, they have like a partnership, but I would get a multiplier on an airdrop. So that's a strategy that, wallets seem to be doing. Yeah, I think the cool thing is now airdrops on Bitcoin are possible. That brought so much excitement into the space. There's not a week that goes by where I don't wake up to new runes in my wallet, which is super exciting. But yeah, guys, I think we're clocking in on the hour, and I have a meeting at sharp, so we're gonna wind it down. I did want to pass it around. Maybe you guys have an outro or want to shout something out or say something. Maybe you have an exciting plan coming up, and everyone has to know about it. So let's do a little round and then close it out.
You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
All right, so Uncaged. If you guys could do me a favor, and just as people who are very familiar with like tokens and trading and everything, take a look at the MBS token, and feel free to, if you don't want to put a comment, hit me up with a DM on your thoughts as to how the MBS token is looking right now. Feel free to drop a comment on Uncaged account, or like I said, just send me a DM. I'm curious what you think of it.
Sounds good, brother. Nice. I can't wait. I haven't thought about tokenomics in a while, in a deep way for a long time. And Robbie's example of talking to AI about tokenomics just got me inspired. So yeah, I think it's something we have to all stay on top of. We have to study how tokens are successfully, growing. And that's an interesting research question, but, cool. Yeah. Brandon, over to you.
Yeah, I already mentioned mobile, so definitely make sure you're following us to stay up to date on that. Otherwise, our team is going to be at Bitcoin Nashville as well. So for anybody that's planning on heading to Nashville, I'd love to see you there. I know I don't think we've announced anything yet, but we are sponsoring a few events, and it's going to be just a great time. So really, really excited for that.
Nice. Yeah, everyone going to Nashville, check out these guys and connect with them. And thanks to everyone who joined in as well from the audience. We do this every Thursday, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see you next week. We're going to actually do runes rankings next week. We're going to rate them on a tier basis to see what is the S tier rune and what you should ape into, of course, NFA. But it'll be a fun sesh, so I hope to see most of you there. And yeah, have a good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Bye-bye.